Good morning. I'd like to call the Niagara Region Police Service Board public meeting to order for July 24th, 2025. My name is Pat Kjolk, and I'm the chair of the Niagara Police Service Board. We begin the meeting this morning by acknowledging that Niagara Region is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many nations, Métis and Inuit people from across Turtle Island, that live and work in Niagara today. The Regional Municipality of Niagara Police Service Board stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of lands on which we live. I will now begin the roll call with Member Gibson.
I'm present.
Member Yip.
Present.
Vice Chair Capsavania.
Present.
Member Lawson.
I don't know if you heard, Pat. I said present.
Yes, we heard that. Thank you, Vice Chair. Next is Member Lawson. Sorry, I didn't hear you. Member Lawson, can you hear us? Just to let everybody know that Vice Chair Capsavania and Member Lawson will be joining us virtually. Or join us virtually. Member Lawson, can you hear us?
Now I can. Thank you. Present.
Okay, thank you. Member McKendrick?
Present.
And Member Steele?
Here.
There is a bit of an echo. Okay, we'll continue and we'll get that cleared up. Do any members have any declarations of conflict or pecuniary interest? Yes.
I am declaring a conflict for 8.26.
Thank you. That'll be noted. Any other members? I'm seeing none. We'll go to the adoption of the minutes. Moved by Member Yip, seconded by Vice Chair Capsavania, the minutes of public board meeting held Thursday, June 26, 2025 be adopted and circulated. Is there any discussions? Seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Reports from the board chair. On July 10th, board members and staff attended a training session to learn more about the operations of the service's investigative services. Police staff provided presentations that addressed the various policing obligations, mandated legislative requirements, and the roles and responsibilities carried out by members assigned to units such as homicide, forensics, opioid enforcement, major drugs and gangs, domestic violence, child abuse, sexual assault, and human trafficking. On July 29th, the service will be holding a recruit swearing-in ceremony to welcome 15 new recruit members of the Niagara Regional Police Service and 2 currently serving police officers. The ceremony will begin at 5 p.m. and take place in the community room here at police headquarters. Members Lawson, Steele, and I will be attending the event. The Canadian Association of Police Governance is hosting its 2025 annual conference from August 14th to the 16th in Victoria, British Columbia. This event remains the largest gathering of police boards in Canada and serves as the municipal vehicle for dialogue between many different stakeholders in police governance. This year's theme is Navigating Challenging Times. And the delegates will have the opportunity to engage in panel discussions, workshops, and roundtables with a focus on new ideas and problem solving around key issues facing policing today. Members Lawson, McKendrick, and Executive Director Reed will be attending the event. The International Association of Women Police is hosting its 2025 annual training conference from September 8th to the 12th in Glasgow, Scotland. Conference delegates representing members from more than 70 countries and 30 affiliate organizations will be coming together to state-of-the-art training in modern policing issues and policing challenges. Vice Chair Kappas-Vanu, Executive Director Reed will be attending the conference. There's no board meeting or committee meetings scheduled for the month of August. There are no committee meetings scheduled for September. The next regular monthly board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, September 25th, 2025 at 9:30 a.m. in the community room here at Police Headquarters. I'll now go to the chief, see if there's any reports.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. I do have a report that I will provide for yourselves and the board. As has been widely reported in the media, we have seen a significant increase in fatalities that have occurred on our roadways across the region. Our traffic reconstruction unit has been the primary investigator for these investigations, and we are now sitting at 25 fatalities for the year to date. Our officers are continued to engage in traffic compliance. We have our dedicated traffic enforcement unit, drug recognition experts, breath technicians, and several projects, including the RIDE program, seatbelt checks, etc., in an effort to enhance the safety in our region. On June 27th, we attended the Kristen Friends Child Advocacy Center with MPP Sam Oosterhoff, Parliamentary Assistant to the Premier, MPP Monica Sorella. She is from Hamilton, for a special announcement regarding new provincial funding for the Child Victim Witness Program in Niagara. This funding will assist young victims of crime in providing a safe place to help and heal and to help them navigate the justice system. On July 9th, we attended a ceremony in Niagara-on-the-Lake coordinated by MAD Canada to honor Ashley Marie Valancourt. Ashley was tragically killed by an impaired driver on July 9th, 2022. The lead investigators joined us there, Chris Lucy and Anna Landry, at the request of the family, and they were acknowledged for their diligence in securing a 6-year custodial sentence for the accused and to send a strong message to raise awareness about the dangers of impaired driving with the obvious hope of preventing future tragedies like this taking place. As you reference, on July 10th, we hosted a workshop with the board highlighting the work of many of our investigative units. That afternoon, we also attended a downtown St. Catharines Community Services and Wellbeing meeting to collaborate, discuss, and try to identify a path forward to identify opportunities to enhance public safety in the downtown St. Catharines core. On July 21st, during our Community Inclusion Council meeting, we received an informative presentation by one of our board members, Lumna Morik, regarding the excellent work done by their organization providing support to our French-speaking community. This includes supports in child and youth mental health, counseling and addiction, and helping combat violence against women. With respect to community engagement, on July 3rd, we announced the launch of our Youth Academy, which has been designed to inspire, educate, and engage the next generation of community leaders as part of our ongoing commitment of fostering positive relationships with people across the region. The Academy will run for 8 weeks beginning in September and is designed for students in grades 7 and 8, offering a unique insight and engagement with our officers and staff through interactive demonstrations, presentations, and scenario-based activities. And this runs in alignment with our Citizens Academy, which will also be running in September. Our Youth in Policing initiative, also known by the acronym of YIPPY, is also underway with 7 high school students currently engaged in the program. The students are also part of our ongoing partnership with the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services, and part of our strategy to address, again, the growing needs of youth in our community. It's an opportunity for these young people to gain a deeper understanding of policing and to forge positive relationships by participating and being a part of our work environment. On July 4th, members of our EDI and core units attended the University of Niagara Falls New Student Service Fair to help liaise and educate with students there, including providing information on Project 529, which has been implemented to help prevent bike theft. On July 11th, we kicked off our 7th annual Summer Safety Campaign. The campaign is unique in Niagara and started locally by virtue of a partnership with Niagara's owners of Wendy's restaurants. Wendy's have provided our officers with coupons for Frosties, which we in turn provide to young community members to acknowledge behavior that they're undertaking to help keep themselves safe, inclusive of wearing a helmet or a life jacket. The initiative creates positive interaction opportunities with our frontline officers. On July 15th, our core and EDI units attended Niagara College Student Appreciation Day, providing education on policing and again on Project 529. On July 17th, our EDI unit presented at the University of Niagara Falls to their international students at their post-arrival Know Your Rights and Responsibilities in Niagara event. On July 21st, EDI members were at the Niagara Falls Public Library and presented to families who are new to the region on topics including how to recognize and report hate crimes, tenant rights and responsibilities, and the role of police more broadly in Canada. This past month, Deputy Chief Lagrataria and I met with Mayor Sisko and MP Chris Biddle to discuss our ongoing engagement with dealing proactively with issues that are taking place again in St. Catharines. On Tuesday, we attended Deerhorst Resort to provide support at the Premier's Gala as leaders from across Canada and the Prime Minister attended that event to discuss current events inclusive of border security. And today, as we speak, we have 15 new recruits that have joined our service that are participating in what we reference as the diversity tour, where they attend different communities to learn about different faiths, services, and of course our Indigenous peoples at Fort Erie Native Friendship Center. With respect to member wellness, Chair, as I reported previously, our members are continuing to work closely with Indigenous persons that have been brought to Niagara Falls from Manitoba, and our Indigenous liaison officers have done a tremendous job of trying to support Indigenous peoples in a way that is in keeping with their culture and mitigating them being brought into police custody for any instances that might otherwise warrant same. So I'd like to acknowledge our core unit, our members of our Indigenous liaison unit, and all our members on the front line that have been doing a really wonderful job of working through those oftentimes sensitive issues at a time when our calls for service continue to increase and both in volume and in complexity. So I'll end my comments there, Chair. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Chief. Thank you for your report. Are there any questions by members? Member Gibson?
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Chief, in regards to the folks that have been brought in from Manitoba there for the fire, I'm going to assume that our local Indigenous councils and people are well entrenched and well involved as well. Am I correct?
Through you, Chair. Yes, Member Gibson, that is correct. Our Indigenous liaison officers are working closely with the Native centers and with Expira in an effort to provide events. We've had football, hockey games. We've had a number of initiatives at the centers. They're fully engaged, and they've been really valuable in helping navigate these. It's a very challenging time for these the Indigenous peoples that are brought here. They're away from their home for an extended period of time. And they're in a completely different environment. So our people are doing a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Member Gibson, any other questions? I always get council in this mixed up. Yeah. All right, thank you, Chief. Now we go to presentations. We do have 2 presentations this morning. So we'll start with, in regards to the police tow rotation list delegation, we start with Chris York. If you'd like to come up to the podium, please. And welcome, Chris.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the board. First of all, it's an honor to be here this morning to speak to this issue. And I did have a chance to read the report that came forward with regards to this. And I just wanted to say that I think it's a fantastic and amazing step forward into resolving the problem that we have here in Niagara with the towing rotation and the towing industry. There's a couple other matters that need to be touched on, I believe, in the report that obviously can't be done until after it's all resolved, and then they can look at what they're going to do to implement it. And I can only hope that it's going to be approved by the board and then eventually obviously approved by regional council to be sent back to be implemented. The biggest problem that we had is that we knew we were facing some serious issues with it being in the hands of a third party who had a vested interest in the towing industry, because the owner of the Niagara Tow Alliance, known as the NTA, is also an owner of a tow company that's on the rotation list. And as a result, they have a vested interest in keeping it in their hands so they have control of it. And that's just not acceptable. They have control of who got to be on the list, who got to be off the list, who was suspended. They were collecting fees. They were being run as a for-profit business that we were all told in the beginning that it was supposed to be non-for-profit. Now, in the beginning when this was formed, it was led to believe through a lot of smoke and mirrors that this was going to be great for the industry, and it turned out to be a forced union. I was the only holdout from that union. I made it abundantly clear I would not take part of this. I wanted no part of the NTA, and nothing good was going to come from it. Everybody was led to believe that they did not have a choice to be a member in order to be able to tow for the Niagara Regional Police or the OPP in Niagara, which turned out to be completely false, because I said if they forced this, I would go to Niagara Regional Council, I would make them aware of what was going on, because this was done without council's approval or knowledge. The minute I threatened to do that, the head of the business licensing unit at that time said, okay, you don't have to be in. You're out, you don't want in, no problem, you're out. You can still tow for the police, and you don't have to be a member. You just have to pay your dispatch fees to us. I thought, okay, fine, as long as I don't have to be a member of the NTA. However, everybody else, Mr. Vieira included, was led to believe you did have to be a member. It turned out to be that you didn't. Some red flags should have been raised by that. Unfortunately, it was slipped by. People didn't realize what was going on until months later. They were saying, hey, wait a minute, how come this gentleman's still towing for the police and he's not a member? How did this happen? Nobody would give answers. So we fast forward, the head of the business licensing retired, left everything in the hands of the NTA. The NTA since January has had full control over this list. And I mean 100%. They were suspending people, and only in February, when I got suspended for the list because they said I did not pay the dispatch fees to them, I was suspended by the NTA, who we were told was to have no control and no ability to suspend anybody. That was supposed to be left through business licensing. That didn't happen. So in February, I said, I'm going to go to council. I'm going to get an end to this once and for all. The owner of the NTA said, you're a nobody, nobody's going to listen to you. You got no power. I said, okay, challenge accepted. As you know, March 5th, I made a presentation to the committee at the region. It then ended up on regional council's plate on March 20th, and we've had a snowball since then, and everything that I've stated since March the 5th, this report has covered and ended up exposing to be truthful of everything I've said from the onset. None of it was false. The other problem that we have now is the vice president of the NTA owns 6 different tow companies in Niagara, all on the tow rotation, and is now on the rotation with all 6 companies on 2 zones each and is getting 12 turns at the rotation, as opposed to a company who only has 1 company having 2 zones, and that's it. So my company, there's only 1 company on there, I'm on 2 zones. This other person, if you follow the money, it all leads back to them. They have 6 companies with 2 zones for a maximum of 12 turns on the rotation. That's not fair. It should be 1 company, a maximum of 2 zones. I don't care how many companies you own. You can own 20 companies, but you should only be allowed 1 on the rotation list with a maximum of 2 zones. And that's the end of it. The other issue is they changed with the rotation, they also changed with the accident scenes. If you're called out to a scene, now the tow company that gets called out gets the entire scene. Well, there's another unfair problem because you could get called out, you have 1 car at the scene. The next company could get called out, there's 3 cars involved, they're taking all 3 cars. So now they've gotten 3 tow calls, they're getting 3 tow fees from the insurance companies or the owners of the cars, where the other company only got 1. So the way it should be is every car at the scene is treated as a separate call, similar to what the OPP do currently now on the highways. When they have an accident scene, if there's 3 cars, they'll call for 3 tow trucks. And every car is a separate call for service. And that's the way it should be now. The same thing needs to be done with the Niagara Regional Police. It needs to go back to 1 car, 1 call for service. 1 company on the list, 2 zones, period. I don't care how many you own. But if you have 6 companies, you should not be having all 6 of them on the list. You should only have 1, because otherwise, nothing stops you from making multiple companies and having multiple turns on the rotation and having multiple cracks at the apple. That's not fair to the other companies that are playing by the rules and trying to do things honestly. So we need to make it fair for all, and this is one way that's going to do that. But of course, those are implementations that have to be done at a later time. Right now, we need to concern ourselves with taking back control of the list and not having it in the hands of a third party. And I think this report that was prepared goes a long way towards doing that. In closing, I'd like to thank everybody that was involved in that report, Inspector Dave, the members of the board and regional council. As you all know, this has been going on since March the 5th. We're now going into August. It's been a long time coming, and it's the only way we're going to be able to fix this to make sure it's not open to corruption. I know that currently there was a company in Niagara that was bought by another company in Toronto. That company in Toronto, the parent company, was involved in shootings in Toronto. We do not want this in Niagara. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. York. I do need a mover seconder to receive this for information to be received. Moved by Member Lawson, second by Member McKendrick. I'll go to the board members, see if there's any questions for the presenter.
No,
First,
I'm not.
Mr. Woody.
I'm not a board
Okay.
member. Chris, how long has it been the case that, well, let me give you an example. You were talking about somebody having multiple companies. So if I've got a company with 10 trucks, you're saying I could set up 10 different companies to go on the list 10 times.
Exactly.
How long's that been going on?
That's been going on since the NTA took over and has been involved in the tow rotation and business licensing.
Okay, because you know that we used to do all the licensing work.
Yes, yes, I know.
And I don't remember that being there 10 or 15 years
No,
ago.
when the licensing was handled by the Niagara Regional Police, Evan Lindsay and Craig LeBon, and there was one other lady, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but those 3 that ran the licensing unit, they made it very clear you were only going to be allowed, at that time, 2 different companies on the list, and you were allowed on 2 zones for each company. That was the maximum. But once it went over to business licensing and the region took over, that was out the window. A bylaw was written up, and none of these things were factored in or even considered or looked at. So nobody was stopped from having multiple companies. You could have 10 companies, like you said, and have them all on the list on 2 zones for each of those companies. You're getting 20 turns at the apple. How is that fair to the other companies that are playing by the rules and only doing 1?
Okay. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you. Any other questions? I'm seeing none, so I'll just call the question to receive the information, the presentation. All those in favor? All right, that carries. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yar.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to, second presentation is in regards to the police tow rotation list delegation again. We'll go to Joe Vieira. You may begin.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great honor to be able to speak in front of you all today. As most of you know, some of you have seen me speak already on something that I hold very near to my heart, and that is towing. And I always start off my presentations with, who here thinks about towing? Well, nobody does, unless you're in an accident or one of your beloved family members is in an accident. You want to make sure that the appropriate company goes out there to take good care of them in their time of need. Currently, the Niagara Regional Police towing rotation, in my opinion, is not in a good place. We have companies on this rotation that the police call on to help tourists and citizens alike that are in accidents. There's brand new companies on this tow rotation that have only been in business a few months, and they're already on the police rotation. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. What I would suggest is before any new companies are added to a police rotation, any police rotation, they are at least opened and operating in our community for a length of period approximately for 2 years. Another thing that I find quite concerning is that most companies on this towing rotation do not have the necessary staffing, do not have the appropriate equipment that the police would need when they call out for their various scenes. A big rig rolls over, a two-car collision, the cars are on their roof. A lot of these companies only have one antiquated truck on their roster for their fleet. How can a tow company be towing for the police and only have one tow truck? Allow me to explain further with my PowerPoint presentation. I'm ready for that to go up on the screen. Thank you, Stephanie. It should be noted while we're waiting for my PowerPoint to come up that I also read Inspector DeVay's report. I read option 1, we leave it as it is, and clearly we can't do that. It's a matter of public safety. I did read his report, option 2. Option 2 is very much in line with the way I think it should be done. So I encourage everybody to seriously consider going with Inspector DeVay's report and going forward with option 2. What I'm outlining here today is just some concerns. If NRPS does take it over, I suggest they start with a clean slate and add companies as they meet these minimum requirements. These are just my suggestions. I'm doing my best to fill in time as my PowerPoint attempts to go up.
Just give us a minute, Joe. We'll get there.
Please don't count this as my minutes. Thank you.
You're at 4, though. Joe, can you continue on with your presentation without this, and then we'll come back to it? Or
I can. I'm going to do my best not to overlap Mr. York's presentation. I'd also like to see, as he stipulated, one company, one spot on the rotation. It's quite easy to figure out who's got the multiple companies. You just have to follow the money trail, and it'll bring you right to those companies.
I think we've got it on now, so you can continue with your presentation.
Okay, this is my PowerPoint presentation. That's my name up at the front, Regional Towing. I've owned it for the last 23 years, and since I've owned it, I was quite proud when the police called on me to go out to a scene and help them clear up an incident. When they would call, I would put my best face forward, my best foot forward, and I really held it to a higher regard going out on a police call, as in the industry we term it. A lot of these other companies, I believe, don't do that. They're in it for the quick buck, and it's not in the interest of the public. I'm going to show you some depictions, some pictures of tow trucks. Now, keeping in mind, a lot of these companies that are on the police, and police do everything to a much higher standard. Why has towing, when they call on, been left behind? So here we go. This is the first picture. And that's not it. Thank you. First picture, please. So this is the first picture. It's just off the internet. I've blocked out the names for obvious reasons. This is your traditional tow truck. I want everybody to pay attention to what it does. It's just a traditional tow truck. It lifts up with a system at the back called a wheel lift. And that big red thing, I'm just starting off as if people here do not know anything about towing. That's called a boom, or if you will, a crane. That is important for recoveries when vehicles are rolled over or in particular difficult situations to retrieve them. That is your standard tow truck. Perfect. Next picture, please. This is another more modern tow truck, which also has a boom. This is called a Z boom. You can see by the shape of it how it got its name, the Z. It's still a boom. That little thing pointing down is where the winch line comes out, and it still has a winch. Booms and winches are obviously very important to clear up police incidences quickly and get the road opened up as fast as possible. If we could move to the next slide, please. This one is a flatbed. Everybody's familiar with a flatbed. The car's right on top. It can move commodities, it can move vehicles, it can move luxury vehicles, it can also move cars that are cut in half. I'm going to use some terminology that I'm not sure is appropriate, but it absolutely blows me away that a company that's towing for the police does not have a simple equipment such as a flatbed. If police calls my company 10 times, 9 of those times is for use of a flatbed. Flatbed, flatbed, flatbed. How can a towing company be allowed on a police rotation without the appropriate equipment? You can see here's a nice classic car. Could you imagine showing up with just a wheel lift truck? You wouldn't be able to do the job. My point is, if you don't have the appropriate equipment, we need to remove you from the police rotation and hold it to at least some minimum standards. Next picture, please. This depicts another flatbed, and you can see it's moving a very high-end vehicle. Often police do impounds for stunting and various other Highway Traffic Act infractions. Again, it brings me back to my point. How can we not have minimum standards for fleets, for towing companies that are towing for the police? My thing, I have always said, you should have a minimum of 4 tow trucks if you want to be considered to be put on the police rotation. Next picture, please. This one is a heavy towing unit. This is a bone of contention for a lot of my competitors, the ones that don't have this truck. Police towing involves everything. They might get a milk truck, a gas tanker that's flipped over on its side. I'm suggesting, it's just my suggestion again, that in order to tow for the police, you should have all of the equipment for any particular situation they may need you to handle. This is a heavy tow unit. Next picture, please. Now this picture is very interesting. It looks like a tow truck, correct? But it's what's called in the industry a sneaker, a under bumper. And in essence, it's not in essence, in actuality, it's just a pickup truck with a bolted on or welded towing attachment to it. The problem with this is, when you buy it, it's just a civilian use pickup truck. The other tow trucks, as in the second one I showed you, are purchased as a cab and chassis and put together by a bodybuilder like, the name escapes me right now, Canadian Towing Equipment, and they build real robust trucks. Cab and chassis means larger brakes, better stopping power, safety, double gusseted frames, more robust, again, safety, larger suspension components, again, safety. In my humble opinion, These type of trucks should not be allowed on the police rotation system. They're merely a bolted and welded on attachment to a pickup truck for civilian use, not in a commercial grade capacity. Next picture, please. This is the same type of truck, and unfortunately, the region made a mistake. This is not the actual truck, it's just one off the internet. That chrome piece on the bottom is another one of those bolted and welded on attachment pieces. And if you look carefully at the wheels, it's what's called a single wheel. It's an even lighter capability truck. The region has allowed, I believe, 2 or 3 of these trucks to work on our roads, in amongst all of us as we're driving. A single wheel pickup truck with a towing attachment on the back. Now I've done my math, and if my math is correct, as soon as you place anything larger than a Honda Civic or the equivalent type of vehicle, it puts this car over its weight capabilities, its gross vehicle weight restrictions. Certain trucks have certain numbers that if you overload it, it makes you illegal. If my math is correct, you put something bigger than a Honda Civic on there, makes it illegal. These type of trucks are the favorite of what I call chasers. They chase in town. We've all seen the news with the violence, and they try to be at the scene first, and they try to convince you to allow them to tow. They love these trucks because they're a pickup truck. They're light, they can weave in and out, they can move their families, they can do grocery shopping with them, and if they come across an accident, boom, their tow truck is right there. Again, I'm just going to repeat, I would like to see these not used in the police rotation call-out system. One more thing just before I close. You're all looking at these pictures and the one before it. Does anybody notice something that differentiates these from the first 2 pictures? No hands going up? Allow me to tell you. They don't have any booms. These type of trucks don't have booms. That's that big crane mechanism that I showed you. So the police is calling to move a truck that had some cargo roll out of it. Well, there's no crane to help move it. These trucks are inadequate for that. Personally, I think they are a safety risk to the community. I'd like to see them completely omitted from the rotation. That brings me to the conclusion of my rotation, my presentation. Christopher York's pretty much said everything that I also wanted to say. So rather than overlap it, I'll just conclude my presentation at this time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Vieira. I'll need a mover to receive this presentation. Moved by Member Still, second by Member Gibson. So I'll go to the board members, see if there's any questions or comments. Yes, Member Lawson.
Thank you. I have a number of questions, but I'm going to save the majority of my questions for the report. This one is specifically for Mr. Vieira. Is when you're talking about the calls for service, you're speaking specifically for the police services. Obviously, there would be calls out from the fire department and perhaps the paramedics. I understand that we're covering the police side, but I want to understand if this is the same issue that you're having with calls for fire and paramedic, or is it police that just strictly make the calls?
Thank you for your question. It's only ever been, since I've been in business for 23 years, we get the call from the NRPS directly. The fire department or the ambulance people do not call us for assistance at clearing up a scene, ever, in my experience.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Member Lawson. Member Gibson.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you for the presentations. I agree with just about everything you say.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I would like to know approximately how many companies in Niagara region have the equipment similar to yours that, according to the standards you speak of, could make the list?
If I was to make an accurate summation of the companies that could make this potential list, in all honesty, sir, it would be approximately 6 companies that would meet my proposed implementation of minimum standards. The rest are just, I've used this term one truck wonders with some levity, but they just have one truck and they're just on it taking up a space.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Member Gibson. I'll go to our solicitor, Woody McKeag.
Thanks. These modified pickup trucks,
Yes,
can I
sir.
assume that they are licensed by the province?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I see no other questions. Mr. Vieira, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
I will now call the question for the presentation to be received. All those in favor? And that carries. All right, thank you. You may be seated now.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, with all due respect, if I could make one more comment before we left. It has nothing to do with the presentations, but I just think you should know that Mr. Vieira and I, outside of this here, normally as a rule, we don't get along. We never have for quite some time. But we've managed to put our differences aside because we believe wholeheartedly in what's been going on with the towing situation in Niagara. And we've been able to work together since March on this
All
to
right,
try to
thank you.
get fixed.
Thank you for that. I think we're aware of that. We've seen your presentation several times. We'll go to number 8, consent agenda. I'd like to move by Vice Chair Capistavanu, second by Member Lawson, that the information be received. Are there any, that we move items 8.1 to 8.6, 8.26 in block? Are there any questions to any of the items? Member McKendrick?
Not a question, but just in regards to 8.3 and the impaired driving changes about public announcements. I just wanted to thank for the analysis and appreciate the balancing of trying to deter from impaired driving while also considering the risk and the impact on community members. And as I started reading the report, I was like, oh no. But then the alternative of we can still do things to impact education and continue to try to deter without having those risks. I just really appreciate that. Professionally, I have witnessed the devastation, and personally, I have, my family has been a victim of impaired driving. So as an impacted family member, I appreciate those continued efforts. I maintain hope that the message will be received and we'll see a change in behavior. And I encourage members of the public to report concerning driving or impaired driving. And while we need to reduce inappropriate calls to 911, I am wanting to confirm for myself, but also the public, that these concerns would be an appropriate use of 911 due to the immediate safety concerns and the devastation that impaired driving can bring. Sorry, I get emotional, so thank you.
Through you, Chair, thank you for your comments, Member McKendrick, and you are correct. Our goal remains to educate the public and change behavior. The way that we intend to do that is by sharing data, not names. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Just wanting to confirm 911 would be an appropriate use. Yes.
100%. Our recommendation is that if anybody sees somebody driving and they suspect that they are impaired, that they call 911. We have seen the devastating impact of impaired driving. Thank you.
Any other members? So I'm seeing none. So I just like to correct that. We're going to move items 8.1 to 8.5 in block, as 8.26 was, as Member McKendrick declared a conflict on that one. So I'll call the question from 8.1 to 8.25. All those in favor? And that carries. And now 8.26. Any discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. We'll go to new business. 9.1, the tow truck rotation list for the Niagara region. Moved by members McKendrick, second by Member Gibson, that the board approve the recommendation option 2 outlined in the report for the management and oversight of the tow truck rotation list by the Niagara Regional Police Service. I'll now go to members, see if there's any questions or comments. Member Steele?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to defer this until the region comes back with their report. As you know, Mr. Chair, you sit on the regional council, we directed staff to come back and to have the region look after this issue and get back into getting everything done. So once that report comes back to us in the next month or so, then it can come back here, depending on how that report is received at the region.
Okay, so there is no discussions for the deferrals, I believe. The second, Counselor Yip seconds the deferral. So I'm gonna have to call the question. All those in favor? Okay, the deferral carries. Which means this will be going back to the region. Well, waiting for the region's decision, correct, okay. Great, thank you. We have, moving on here, 9.2, moved by member Still, second by member Yip, that the board approve the revised special paid duty rates scheduled on bylaw 425-2024 effective for July 1st, 2025, and for January 2026, and direct staff to ensure that all documentation is revised accordingly. Any discussion? I'm seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That carries. All right, we go 9.3. Broadcom Enterprise Licensing Agreement Renewal. Moved by member Lawson, second by member Gibson, that the board approve the attached quote for the three-year term renewal of the VMware Enterprise Licensing Agreement through ONX Enterprise Solutions Limited in the amount of $1,016,428.05 Canadian dollars, including HST net of rebates. Any discussions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Go to item 9.4, special fund requests. Before we consider the special fund requests listed under item 9.4, special fund requests number 1 to 4, I would like to remind members of the public that the special fund does not form part of the police operating budget and is separate from the regional tax base. The special fund is a discretionary pool of funds which is used for grants and charitable donations. Disbursements from the fund are made in accordance with guidelines provided in the Community Safety and Policing Act and with Board Bylaw 403-2024, Special Fund Administration Limitations and Guidelines. So we do have 4 special funds requests for today. Number 1 being Niagara Regional Fire Chiefs Association Golf Tournament for $900. Number 2 is 4th Annual Cliff Priest Memorial Golf Tournament, which is $1,650. Number 3 is the Penner Home Hardware Bravehearts Gala, $3,500. And number 4 is Youth and Citizen Academy is for $5,000. So moved by member Yip and seconded by member McKendrick that the board authorizes special fund donations as outlined in the report and approve the payment in the requested amounts. Any discussion? I'm seeing none. All those in favor? And that carries. Go to 9.5. Moved by member Lawson, second by member Vice Chair Capsavanu. Is Vice Chair Capsavanu? All right. We're having difficulty with connecting with the Vice Chair and virtually, but so I'm going to be seconded by, who would like to second this? Councillor Yip. That the board adopt the administrative amendments to bylaw 522-2024 as appended to this report. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries. All right, 9.6, moved by member Still, second by member McKendrick, that the board rescind bylaw number 413-2024, the framework of strategic plan, and bylaw number 445-2024, the framework for annual reporting, and further that the board adopt amended bylaw number 535-2025, the framework for strategic planning annual reporting as attached to this report. Any discussion? No. Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. 9.7. This is Police Board bylaw amendments for the use of force. Moved by Member Gibson, second by Member Yip, that the board adopt the amended bylaw 506-2024 as attached to this report. Any discussion? And seeing none, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. All right, next we have moved by Member McKendrick, second by Member Lawson, that the board adopt the draft bylaw as appended to this report, and that further that the board chair and executive director be authorized to make any supplementary administrative amendments to the bylaw that may be required following any additional clarification of the CSPA and its regulations that may be received by the Ministry of Solicitor General. Any discussion? I'm seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. Next, we have moved by Member McKendrick, second by Member Steele, that the board adopt the draft bylaw as appended to this report, and further that the board chair and executive director be authorized to make any supplementary administrative amendments to the bylaw that may be required following any additional clarification of the CSPA and its regulations that may be received by the Ministry of Solicitor General. This is in regards to Police Board bylaw, disclosure of personal information. Any discussion? I don't see any. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. All right. 9.10. This is an investigations by Special Investigation Unit, moved by Member Gibson, second by Member Yip, that the board adopt the draft bylaw as appended to this report, and further that the board chair and executive director be authorized to make any supplementary administrative amendments to the bylaw that may be required following any additional clarification of the CSPA and its regulations that may be received by the Ministry of the Solicitor General. Any discussions? Seeing none, all those in favor, and that carries. All right, we'll go to number 10, new business. Any board members have any new business to bring forward? I don't see any. Chief?
No, thank you, Chair.
All right, go number 11 then. Moved by Member Gibson, second by Member Lawson, that in accordance with board direction, the in-camera report be made available to the public. And it's in regards to the 11.1 Special Investigation Unit. Case number 24-0FP-505, incident of November 25th, 2024. Any discussion? I'm seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. All right. Motion for closed session, moved by Member Steele, second by Member Gibson, that the board move into closed session for consideration of confidential matters pursuant to the Section 44 of the Community Safety and Policing Act, namely for subject matter related to potential litigation, human resource matters, information supplied in confidence by the Ministry of the Solicitor General, and from vendors for contract awards, as well as legal matters that are subject to solicitor-client privilege. Any discussion? Call the question. All those in favor? And that carries. This public meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.